In all transparency, I filmed this video already and the sound was off. It was like really messed up. So I'm doing this again, and that's okay because it's Booker season. Booker season is a wonderful time here on BookTube. There are so many wonderful and thoughtful, creative people who make videos, who dive into the judges' tastes, the eligibility rules. They massively nerd out and geek out on what could possibly be on the Booker long list. A couple of people who come straight to mind are Bob the Booker, Eric Carl Anderson, Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and Ben of Ben Reads Good. All of these channels are those of people who read way more new releases than I do, who have way more knowledge than I do in terms of what could be on the Booker. And so my video, this video here, and my take on it is the side of people who really enjoy following prizes, but I don't want to give up all of my reading energy to a single prize. As much as this season of BookTube and book prizes gives me immense joy, and it's always fun to follow along, I just want to maintain autonomy over, or maintain my own autonomy over my reading life, choosing what I want to read and not necessarily have it dictated by prizes. Having said that, that's kind of the aim that I'm going for in this video. What do I want to be on the Booker long list? And there is a website. It's actually a Goodreads list that is curated by readers, and it's called Booker Potentials 2025. It is the fastest and I think relatively most accurate way to see if a book it falls within the parameters of what the Booker gods want in the Booker long list, according to their 14-page rule set that Ben Reads Good read and was able to articulate and break down for us watchers, at least for me. I'll actually leave Ben's video link down below. I didn't watch anyone's Booker predictions, and then because I had my until I filmed my own video. Then I filmed my video, and I watched a bunch of people's Booker predictions, and then my video was absolute garbage. The sound was, at least. So then I'm coming to you with more knowledge about what our community thinks about what's going to be on the Booker and so on. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I have a bunch of space right here, and so I'm going to actually have a carousel of scrolling, and it'll, I hope, hopefully loop a couple of times through this video so that you can actually see what Goodreads readers and Goodreads people, I suppose, readers in and of themselves, and Booker fans think might be potentials for the Booker long list. Again, it's sort of I would say the fastest way to check to see if a book falls within the guidelines, but it's not 100% accurate. So I'm going to scroll through, and I am going to talk about the books that if they were on the Booker, it would give me that nudge, that little to wanting to read the book. Like, I already am interested in the book, I've already heard of the book, and now it's kind of like it's giving me a little shove towards it, you know, which might be that little shove that gets me to actually pick it up. So yeah, anyhow, hi, you just got an earful if you're new, but if you're enjoying the sort of chaotic vibes, chaotic yet chill vibes, I would encourage you to subscribe. And without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the actual meat of this video. Am I the only one on BookTube that didn't absolutely adore Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell? Because it is the most upvoted. The more people that vote for a book to be on the Booker long list, the higher it ranks on this Goodreads list. Like, the more votes it has, the higher it ranks on the Goodreads list. So with the most votes is Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell. It is the only book on this potentials list that I have read. It is about an English woman living in Ireland, and she leaves her emotionally abusive relationship, which puts her into a very vulnerable position with few resources and little support. And she does this while being pregnant and having little ones. And so it's how she gets through this situation. It explores the emotionally abusive side of relationships and how harmful and damaging they can be. And I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great. Now, I do think that Nesting being longlisted for the Women's Prize is much more of a Women's Prize book, because the Women's Prize is, one of their goals is to highlight literature written by women, and it also says that they want to highlight new and upcoming authors. And considering that this was a strong debut by O'Donnell, I understand why it was longlisted for the Women's Prize. But as a Booker book, which I think tends to skew a little more literary, a little more lyrical, a little more inventive, or even experimental, it doesn't seem to me like a Booker book. You'll have to tell me if you disagree. I know so many people love this book. And so I know that I'm kind of the outlier. I'm like way over there on the other side of the bell-shaped curve saying, it was fine. The first half was stronger than the second half, tra-la, tra-la. Okay, a book that I would probably put on hold right away. I might even put this on hold before they announce the long list, in case it all of a sudden tons of people want to go out and read it. And I'm like, no, I'm first. So I might actually put this on hold before they announce the long list, because I already want to read it. And it is Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst, who has won the Booker before and is known to be an incredibly well-seasoned and very, very strong writer. So would definitely want to see that on the long list, and I would definitely be tempted to pick it up if it were. A book that has only been on my radar for the last 48 or maybe even just 24 hours because Roz and her wonderful husband from the channel Scalladandalian About the Books did a review on the Book of Records by Madeline Thien, and then it was on Ben Reed's Good Booker Predictions, and he said it has big brain energy, and I was like, I would like to read a book that has big brain energy. So I was very excited about it. It's also historical fiction and a genre-bending historical fiction fantasy blend, which sounds right up my alley. Now, it just depends on how it's executed, because I think sometimes these genre-bending books, like historical fiction and historical fiction plus fantasy kind of books, like I'm thinking of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It's one of those kinds of books that is mayhaps slightly on the commercial side for the Booker. Like they want it to be, very buttoned up and hoity-toity. So I don't know, but this sounds really good. So basically it says, Lena and her father have arrived at an enclave called the Sea, a staging post between migrations, with only a few possessions, among them 3 volumes of the Great Voyagers Encyclopedia series. So in this mysterious and shape-shifting building made of time, pasts, and futures collide. So I think that they're in this place where time is all together. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that. I don't think I could eloquently explain it. And I think there are a lot of famous people that show up, and it's about getting all these people together. And so it's ultimately exploring the role of fate in history, the migratory nature of humanity, and the place of faith in our world. So I think that sounds really interesting, and it sounds like a book for me, she says trepidatiously. Did you know, and to my own surprise, that I have read almost the entire shortlist for the Walter Scott Prize for Historical Fiction? I am currently reading the fourth of six books on the shortlist, which shocks me. I have not read ever that many books from that prize. I say this in that I didn't set out to read the shortlist. However, if the winner, which I have not read yet, The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller, was also on the Booker, it was the winner for the Walter Scott Prize for Fiction in 2025. If that was on the Booker, I'd be like, maybe I should just do the thing. Maybe I should just complete the project of reading all the Walter Scott Prize for Historical Fiction, the shortlist for it in 2025. And it will also double as like a book or longlisted book. That would actually kind of tempt me. The Land in Winter is about two couples who two couples in a relatively remote place that becomes even more remote because of the harsh winter, and it's about their relationships and then their relationships with each other. Sounds great. One of you all actually told me that Endling by Maria Reva was the best book you read this year. And so, of course, me, if I see a comment like that, I'm going to go down the rabbit trail and I'm looking at what this book is. And then I stumbled upon like the review at the top, like a reader review at the very top. And it said, after turning the last page of this book, I sat still for a few minutes and asked myself, what did I just read? So it might be a little spastic for me. I don't tend to like metafiction books, but I don't know. After there was like this glowing endorsement by one of you, I was like, that sounds kind of good. This is what it's about. Ukraine, 2022. Yiva is a loner and a maverick biologist who lives out of her mobile lab and scours the country's forests and valleys, trying and failing to breed rare snails while her relatives urge her to give up, settle down, and start a family. What they don't know is that Yiva has already dated plenty of men, not for love, but to fund her work. Okay, rare snails, dating men for funding, sounds bizarro already, and I think it just gets weirder from there. A book that reviewer Sam Sachs spoke about, and after he spoke about it, he mentioned it as a, Sam Sachs is a reviewer for the Wall Street Journal. And he was on Steve Donahue's channel, and they were talking books. And Sam had said that this was a very refreshing read. You know, he reads a lot of books. He reads and reviews several books. And so he's always, I think, attuned to when something hits the market that is a little bit different, that kind of, I don't know, gets in and amongst you in sort of like a sideways manner, right? So after he said that, I was like, oh, that sounds good. And then Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot said that he was reading, doing a reading project, okay? One of his like grand reading projects that he often does. And he mentioned this book and said it was really good. Now, Scott and I are frenemies. We tend to be on opposite sides of inconsequential reads. Well, we tend to be on opposite sides of most reads. And then every once in a while, like with Middlemarch and The Bee Sting, something will hit real hard. For me, I think that Scott just comes to his senses and he's finally realizing who has the better taste and will finally agree with me on some things. But that's neither here nor there. So he liked this book and I was like, maybe this is one of those amazing books in which we both really like it. And it's Wee Pretty Pieces of Flesh. Sorry about the preamble, but it's Wee Pretty Pieces of Flesh by Caldwell Brown. Now, it's told in this dialect. I didn't remember which one. Doncaster dialect, and it's about these young women, and we follow them through their adolescence all the way up to their 30s, and it's supposed to be really good. I don't know. Everything about it, all signs point towards go. If it was on the book or long list, I would love it. Oh, also Ben said that he is predicting right now that this is going to be the winner. I was like, those are some big words right there. Emer McBride is an author that I've wanted to read for a long time. So her book, The City Changes Its Face, if it was long listed, I would be very curious. Although I do have a couple of Emer McBride books. I think I have one, The Lesser Bohemians, on my shelves unread. So it might just nudge me towards Emer McBride, but I can't, her new book is tempting, especially if it was long listed. A book that Scott didn't like, and I was like, aha. Actually, he DNF'd it, and I was like, aha. I think I might love this then. There's no rhyme or reason when our tastes align and don't, okay? Even when he says something and I'm like, I'm gonna actually follow your advice on that. Or I'm just gonna run in the opposite direction and defy what you thought I was gonna do. Okay, so in this case, it's Black Woods Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. They call it a dark fantasy or a dark fairy tale, an unforgettable dark fairy tale. And I heard it's done in that very Eowyn Ivey way. To be fair, I've not read anything by her, but I do think that this could be a good starting point. Editing Shelley here. So a book I forgot to mention, but I definitely wanted to insert it, is The Pretender by Joe Harkin. Now, this is about a young royal sent out to the fields to live as a young farmer boy, something like that. To say as I'm eating popcorn and just about spitting it out. Okay, and being raised, and it's set during Plantagenet times. It sounds really good. It's been on my list for ages and got a positive review from Steve Donahue. So, you know, I'm all over that. Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. I own that book. So if it is longlisted, there's a great possibility that I would pick it up and read it. Also, Quarter Life by Devika Regge. It sounds like it's found family vibes, and it's about this group of young people in India trying to understand the new India, because there's a revolution that takes place, and they're together trying to work through this massive change, which sounds good. But I've wanted to read this even before doing this Booker Potential. It's been on my to-read list for a while. I wonder, though I'm not necessarily super excited to read this, but I wonder if the Booker is trying to do something different. If Spent by Alison Bechdel, who wrote Fun Home, if that's going to be on the long list, because it's a graphic novel. And every once in a while, the Booker likes to do something weird and get the conversation going in a certain way. And so I wonder if Spent is that book that will throw everyone off, and everyone will just be like, oh my gosh, a graphic novel on the Booker long list. This hasn't happened since 2006 or whenever. And then, you know, there's that stirring conversation that gets everyone's eyes on the Booker because they did something strange. I have read Fun Home and I enjoyed it, though I'm not necessarily like super excited to read her next book. I just thought it was of note. I honestly think that's it, y'all. I think that's everything that I am particularly fascinated by in this moment before seeing the long list. Let me know, like, what do you want to see? What excites you? Yeah, I have the little carousel of things because I wanted you to see what the potentials were and what titles just popped out and hit you in the face, and now you want to read, or now you're excited to see if it's possibly longlisted, right? So let a girl know. I want this to be a back and forth. But yeah, thank you for hanging out, and I hope to see you all on my next one. Bye!